3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another edition of All About Berea. I'm Chad Hembry.
And I'm Beth Myers.
And we are actually in the Madison County Library this evening. And we're going to be joined by a guest, and I'll let you introduce the guest.
We're going to be really, really quiet.
This is extremely bizarre for me. On the top 5 things I never thought I'd be doing would be like actually broadcasting my voice in a public library. But yeah, we have Ruthie Maslin on the show today, who is the executive director. Who took over, let's see, are you on your, I'm going to be bad about this, third year?
It is my third year. It was my third anniversary last Friday.
Okay,
You're
well, congratulations. You have been only our second executive director since the library first became a taxing district for Madison County, and they are celebrating their 25th anniversary. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what they'll be doing to celebrate that, and also just, you know, how cool the library is, which can be an hour show. Thank you very much.
2 or 3 hour show.
It's very cool.
And, of course, the other voice you're hearing here is Mr. Jonathan Shinhofen, who I skipped over. Sorry, Jonathan.
That's right.
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we know he'll insert himself whenever he needs to.
All right, we've got a lot of things to cover this evening, and I know that Beth has a pretty good list over there. So without further ado, we're going to go into 4 things you should know.
Chad, and I hope you'll indulge me. I'm not going to strictly stick to 4 just because there's some interesting things happening in Berea I want to point out. But it'll
more
mostly be
than 4.
around 4.
So how about 4
Might
plus?
be 4, yes.
Okay,
A 4
yeah.
plus you should know. First of all, the Kentucky Guild of Artists and Craftsmen are going to have their fall fair this weekend at Indian Fort Theater. The fair is going to have the usual Guild members there, and Guild Executive Director Jeanette Rowlett is shooting for around 6,000 in attendance. The weather, knock on wood, should be good both Saturday and Sunday, calling for clear skies and sun. And as many of you know, the joke around Berea is if you want rain, you schedule a craft fair at Indian Fort Theater. Admission is $5 a person, children under 12 getting in free. On Saturday, it'd be from 10 to 6, and Sunday from 10 to 5. And I believe it's, if I get this name right, is it Tim Farmer, Jeff Farmer, the one who has the cooking show on KET, is actually going to be there as offering barbecue. That'll be a new food vendor. And I saw Chad's eyes light up at that information. So make sure you get out there and support your local Kentucky Guild.
Yes, some people say craft fair. I say food fair.
You say craft fair, barbecue. And this is another Rowlett, Jakey Rowlett. She's the one who owned Home and Hearth in Old Town, is attempting to bring back more music in Berea. She's going to start facilitating a bluegrass show once a month. This Friday night will be the first one. She's going to bring the new Coon Creek Girls, I believe, which has 2 of the original Coon Creek Girls in it. They're going to be performing at the Russell Acton Folk Center. Her brother, Earl Barnes, is going to be fronting for the band. They'll have 2 sets. Admission will just be $5, and there's going to be refreshments available, as well as different vendors. A lot of these are ones who actually had booths in Home and Heart who sold some of their craft goods, so they'll be available as well. For the November 15th show, she's arranged for Danny Barnes with the Old Town Project to perform, and in December she has scheduled Dove Creek.
Yeah,
So-
Jakey was a Barnes, and that is a very musical family. So for her to be involved with music is no surprise.
Well,
And-
actually, what's funny about it is when I was asking her about it, and she was saying she wanted to start this, she said her memories of Berea is that there's just music everywhere. You know, there's jam sessions, there's musical festivals, things asking for donations for a cause. You know, it was happening at the old Berea High School, it was happening at the chapel. So this is kind of her way of trying to bring that back. And so she was giving me all these groups, and I started looking them up, and it's like, you'd be amazed about, I would like to know the stats of how many people in Berea have a Wikipedia entry like artists, musicians. It's really amazing the people that live here.
Mayor.
Sounds like a reference question.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. We'll go to the reference section for this.
Ruthie,
I'll get right on that.
answer that for me, please. The
Now,
statistics.
I know for a fact that Mayor Steve Conley worked very hard trying to create a Berea archives type site, and he wrote and researched many stories and put them on there. And those are still available, but it hasn't been added to since like the late 90s.
That's really interesting. Well, and there's is it called a Berea room here, Ruthie?
It is
That was
called the Berea room.
dedicated- That was about a year ago, right?
Well, it has been in existence since the library has been here, but we had a special donation from Paul Owens, a history collection, and so that's now housed in the Berea room along with other Berea items. That's
Yeah.
largely a Civil War history collection.
Okay, but and then that joins a lot of other archival.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking right at the sign. So yeah, Berea room. So come out and support her in her work in bringing the bluegrass bands. I think she's mostly going to get groups from Madison County, but she also has a lot of connections evidently outside of that, Nashville and Knoxville. For her personally, she said she doesn't play an instrument. Everybody assumes she does because her family does. When they ask what she plays, she tells them a 12-gauge shotgun.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
She is evidently a champion trap shoot person. So she has a lot of trophies.
Do you not want to say shooter? Are you afraid to say
Is that, okay. Now, no, we're going back to this, Mr. Hembry. I wasn't sure of the correct language on that. Do you say trap shooter or, I don't know, or you trap shoot?
No, Chad says paper plate shooter. 'Cause that's,
Yeah, that's right.
that's what he hunts.
Those are my arch nemesis.
It's a very traumatic experience he doesn't like to talk about in a child with paper plates involved. So his catharsis is destroying them. Anyway, so that she said was her instrument. Okay, and in a more serious thing had happened last Wednesday. 2 women were accosted by an unknown assailant outside a Boone Tavern. One employee had left around 9:30 that night and was walking on Jackson Street behind the tavern when a man with a ski mask, black pants, and a black and gray shirt came out from behind the bushes with a knife and demanded her money. The woman screamed at a man that was walking on Jackson Street, and the perpetrator ended up running away. A coworker had come out to see what was happening after hearing the scream, and the knife-wielding man actually ran by her and demanded money from her as well. The police brought out the K-9 unit. They tracked him past Union Church to an open field, but then the dog lost his scent. Neither women were injured, and he did not actually end up getting any money from them.
Well, I'm glad Parco got to go to work, but I'm upset he didn't get to.
Right.
He's a very happy dog when he catches someone.
And in another event, we're having the second Sunday weekend activities at the Battlefield Park in Richmond this Sunday. The second Sunday is a statewide initiative where the second weekend of every October, they encourage people to be active. So there's going to be walking, biking on trails in Battlefield Park, geocaching, buggy
Caching,
Caching.
right? Yeah.
caching, tug of war. So this will be a way to encourage Kentuckians to be more physically active. So people in Madison County are asked to walk, bike, hike, run, or participate in their favorite physical activities on October 13th.
Ruthie, we may have to school her on geocaching.
Well, you can
I actually
come-
know what it is, but I've never
You
done
can
it.
join the Berea Geocaching Club at the library starting this
I
month.
read that.
Yeah,
I read
so
that.
come
And
and
evidently
find out
it's
more
quite
about
the
it.
movement. It is quite the movement.
It's fun. It's like a scavenger hunt for adults. Well,
Yeah,
kinda
with GPS units.
with fancy electronic devices. What kids
Who
better
needs
than
an X
that?
marks the spot when you got a GPS?
The first meeting actually of the club is Thursday the 15th here at the Tuesday the 15th here at the library at 6:30. So you can find out all about geocaching.
Now, isn't that serendipitous? So
It
yeah,
is,
come out for
indeed.
that. And I know Parks and Rec have been involved doing putting several of these around Berea. It's the kind of thing where you take something and you put something in after you locate it. It's a very kind of informal thing. And the other 2 things I was going to mention, by the time we go live, this will be done. But I think it is interesting that they're going to have an active shooter scenario at Berea College on Thursday of this week. And this will be the first time it's actually been done. In 2007, they did it on EKU, where there's going to be disgruntled people armed on campus. There will be a 911 call, and then these emergency responders will be evaluated on, do they follow the proper procedures? Who do they call? Who do they bring back up? How do they handle it, as a way of kind of testing both the college and the emergency fire, police
In an active
EMS.
shooter situation, yes.
Right, in an
Yeah.
active shooter situation, and then they give them immediate feedback, and then later on, this is actually handled by the Madison County Emergency Management Agency through the fiscal court. So,
Well, and it's also testing civilians in that when there's a drill or something at Bluegrass Community and Technical College where I teach, the instructor has a role. When I did the active shooter, I had to make sure my students were all out of sight from any windows in the classroom door or the outside windows. We had a fire drill, just unannounced fire drill just last week, and I left and then realized, you know what, I'm supposed to be in there and make sure all my students get out. So I dropped all my stuff and I went back into the classroom and shooed the last student out, telling him that, you know, he was going to make me burn up if he didn't. Yeah, the fire alarm went off.
yeah, it's always hard to get that adrenaline going when you don't actually have the emergency right there.
There's so many drills that sometimes people don't take it seriously, but the fire alarm went off. I confirmed it was actually the fire alarm. I told them to get out. They start coming up to the front of the classroom, handing me their homework papers. I'm like, forget about that.
those in.
You know, forget about that. We're burning up here.
This can't burn up. I worked on it all night.
Look, even if there's a real fire, I'd be doing this. Okay.
This is proof I turned it in.
That's why I do online homework. You know.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so it
Dropbox.
should be an interesting thing, and of course it's a a reminder of what we have faced at college campuses around the country. But even I was talking to Carl Richards from EMA, and even before that, though, this was something they encouraged schools and campuses to do to prepare for it. So that is 4+ things you should know.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Beth. I appreciate you sharing those. And it's good. The list gets. There's interesting things. Every single week, it's very, very interesting what the different types of things we can talk about. It's not all hard news. A lot of it's soft art stories and public good stories. I mean, there's a lot going on around here.
Well, I mean, really, when you get to kind of individual people or individual groups initiating things in the community, that sounds very simplistic, but initiating programs, music, doing something, that happens quite a bit. I mean, on all kinds of levels. And that's what makes it a dynamic community.
Well, thanks again for sharing. We're going to take a quick break and get ourselves settled in for a good interview about the library. We're kind of excited about that, learn what all is going to be going on this fall. Fall is usually a pretty busy season, I understand.
I think it's going to go on until May, right?
It
The
goes
official
on,
25th
it goes
anniversary
on
celebration.
24/7, Beth.
Oh, yeah. We are always partying because we love the library. But I was just going to say the official 25th
Yes,
anniversary is
absolutely.
considered to be going on until.
Yeah. We'll wrap up in May with a big gala celebration here in Berea at the Berea Library location. So it'll be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of special events that day.
Well, and I thought my parents threw a good party.
Oh, just wait.
We'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to All About Berea. Hello and welcome back. You're listening to All About Berea, and now we've got a real special interview that Beth has arranged for us, and it was really easy for her to make it since we actually are in her domain.
Well, yeah, the question was, Ruthie, you want to be on our show? And, oh, by the way, can we record at the library?
I was like, yes, come.
It's like, can we have a Super Bowl party at your house?
Yeah, right. And can you provide the beer and snacks?
I got the chips in the
Yes.
car.
So here we are on a Wednesday evening, getting to do our childhood fantasy of talking loudly in a library. So anyway, Ruthie, I really appreciate you being on our show. And I know you had your opening ceremony for your 25th anniversary, and we should probably clarify, this is actually 25 years from when the library actually became funded through the county as a tax district, because even before that, you've had people come. There have been there was some efforts as a private community to have some sort of library services, right?
Yeah, there have been various iterations over the years. A lot of groups have promoted this effort long before the library actually got solidly, started in the late 80s. And so I always want to pay homage to those efforts, early on. Because it led to where we are today, and it led the community to that point where they wanted to, have these services. And it's taken off ever since then. It's been a wild ride for the people that have been here throughout that 25 years. I'm just kind of a newbie to it, but it certainly has been an exciting time.
Yeah, and for those of you who know your Berea history, you'll know that it came in on a bit of a controversy 25 years ago. The judge executive did the tie-breaking vote to actually make this. And I think before that there's different ways in Kentucky you can get a library, but they finally decided to go the way of getting it to be a taxing district. I've read in older newspaper articles when they tried to get some other voter polls to approve it. There were different efforts before that happened. And many people will say that actually is why the judge executive didn't get elected then. But of course now, from the hindsight of 25 years, I would say that the library has probably made converts out of all those early people who were, which just goes to show that we can be a very reactive species, but once we see something's good, then we're sold. And I think, Ruthie, you would probably say, since you've been here, would I be correct in saying that this is a community that really gets behind its library?
Beth, when you're saying that we've made converts of a lot of those folks, I think that our numbers speak that story. Right now we have over 45,000 active card holders in our community, and that's more than half the population of the county. So
we're talking about 76,000 in all of Madison County, yeah.
So that's a huge number, and we see those numbers growing every year. Every month we add to those numbers. And, I started in public libraries in 2001, and everybody said, why are you going to go into this field? Libraries are going to be defunct in 10 years. The internet's here, we've got down, all of these things.
That's really interesting. So that was how people were thinking.
They were,
This is going away. This bricks and mortar's going away.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that libraries have been very nimble in being able to adjust their service model to serve a need that continues in the community. And that's a need to gather, it's a need to seek information together, it's a need to find exactly even what this radio show is doing, a community commons for exploration of ideas and so our library usage has never dipped in that entire 10 years. Well, now that was 2001, so that's 12 years now. And library usage has continued to go up each of those years across the state. So I think I don't think that one necessarily cancels out the other. You can have we see more and more people downloading books, ebooks, and checking out paper books. So they're using both of these formats and technologies simultaneously, and so I think libraries are going to be here for a while.
Well, there was a bit of a controversy recently when the New York Public Library took out some of their dusty bookshelves to put in comfortable furniture. Because they were trying to get the most use out of the space they had, and the use was more in terms of a community center than, guys flipping through, these dusty tomes that could just have gone online themselves.
Absolutely. And that specter of taxes comes up again. Taxes are never a popular thing. But I think that when we are a tax-based organization, that's largely where we get our funding. You and the community pay for these library services, and my staff is so committed to really keeping their finger on the tab of what people in the community really need and want from the library. And so being able to really be responsive to that, whether it's more overstuffed chairs or more James Patterson books, if that's even possible. I think he publishes a book every 3 days, so... I often, this is off the subject, but I often get people call in and say, I want to check out the newest James Patterson. I'm like, you're going to have to be more specific with me because it's,
we're not talking year, we're not talking month, we're talking about day here. What day?
Exactly. So libraries have to be responsive to what the community wants because the community is paying for these services, and we want to give people what they need and want from the library. And so that's a constant daily challenge, and it's an exciting thing too, so.
Well, and I was I was one of those kids who loved my libraries. I spent quite a bit of time in it, but what I remembered is, and this does go back to the cliche, there's definitely no noise. And it was not a place that had that many people. I mean, that's one thing about this place. You come in and there's like a bustling feel about it. It's not loud, but there's activity, there's people here, there's things happening. And the other thing was just kind of a certain intolerance for any kind of user mistake, so to speak. I mean, I would have friends. There's always that thing about getting banned from the library if they didn't feel that you were taking your responsibility as a. I mean, and I actually had friends who they were told they should not come back to the library, and so that's really has been a turn on the model, like, as in, no, let's open up our doors here and now my kids can come in and get graphic novels or comic books or, play the Wii or, it's not that same kind of, pretentious is a strong word, but a certain sense of having to kind of shape up to walk into your library.
Well, and I think there's been a shift just even in the role of librarians. Librarians used to be seen as the gatekeepers of information, and we were the ones that could, navigate these, crazy reference resources and things like that. And now information's everywhere, so everybody has access to that information. And I see that the role of a librarian is more to help guide people to the information that they really want. And so it's been a shift even in that.
I can say that there's an overload of information, so just keeping people back on task is
Right.
actually a talent.
Absolutely.
I'm really caught by how much of this overlaps a lot of the discussion that happens in print journalism.
Absolutely.
Because as I've studied more, and there hasn't been as much coming out, but really one of the problems is the majority, a very high majority, are not good sources of information. I mean, with all the information out there, if you're really looking for factual, if you're really looking for this. So there is a need for kind of, instead of journalists being the ones who break the story, I mean, the story's already getting broken over Twitter far before journalists can get on scene. It's more about kind of being the guide, let's really look and see what's really going on here when you're getting 15 different stories. It's like the
Absolutely.
person who has to take their time to make sure that they sift through those things that other people aren't going to have time to do.
Well,
So
my
I feel like we're making that transition in print journalism just like you are.
my undergraduate degree is in journalism, and when I went back to get my my master's in library and information science, it's in exactly the same college at UK. So
That's
both of
interesting.
those, I think I think you make an interesting point that there's a lot of similarities between those two institutions. And how those roles have changed even over just the last, maybe 5 or 6 years.
I really would have thought that was education. I don't know why.
Yeah, no. It's College of Communications for both of those at UK.
So Ruthie, why don't you tell us a little bit of what we can look forward to then as we're going into kind of this special celebration for this year of the 25th anniversary?
Well, we started with a big celebration in Richmond because that was the first library that opened. And so each of the months until we end up with our big wrap-up gala in May in Berea is focusing on a different aspect of library service or accentuating a special program. We just got through this past weekend with our first annual Know-It-All Festival. We had over 100 and something micro workshops, 15-minute workshops on everything you can imagine. And, the community really responded to this. For 2 days, we had almost 3,000 people that came to those
Wow.
workshops in the two libraries. And it just goes to show that there is a need and a desire for that kind of information. We had everybody from the Better Business Bureau to jewelry making, recycling. It was just an incredible, I learned so much myself, going to that festival. So that was kind of a big focus for us. It was the biggest sort of single system-wide event that the library has done.
There was a really good one on how to write an opinion piece.
How to write an opinion piece, our very own Beth Myers. Yes, absolutely.
I know her.
Yeah, and my advice was don't. Don't do it.
So we'll continue our focus this month. there are a lot of special things going on. It's American Archives Month, and we're doing a special partnership with EKU's Special Collections and Archives, and we're helping out in the partnership by transporting people to the library. We hope to develop a similar project. This is a pilot project now, but to develop a similar project with Berea College maybe in the spring, to actually transport people to the library. Sometimes parking can be something that keeps people away from using some of the other resources that we have in the community. So that's on Thursdays from 10 to 2. And we're taking you door-to-door service, so from the library to the library, and they'll have staff there that will help people with projects. It's also the third week in October is Friends of Kentucky Libraries Week. And so each of the past 3 years, we have a wonderful Friends of the Library group here in Berea. Care Beth Bruner is our president, and each year in October they host a legislative meet and greet where people can come into the library, meet their elected officials, have a little snack, and just stand around and talk, and talk about issues that are on their mind. This year we usually have it in the evening, but this year we decided to have it on a Saturday, so that's going to be on the 19th. Here in Berea from 10 to 11. We'll have lots of yummy treats. You can come and meet your elected officials and talk and visit the library. And also on that morning, there's been a lot of talk about the new health benefits exchange, and people are trying to register, trying to get involved with that. White House Clinics is going to be out at the library that morning as well, just to have it with an information booth if you have questions about how to register to sign up for health benefits and how to navigate that new Connect site. They'll be here from 9 to noon, kind of coinciding with that. So lots of stuff going on. And then that afternoon, if you want to have something even more fun to do, the Pickled Brothers Circus will be here from 1 to 2. So definitely Saturday the 19th is a day to be at the library and have a wide range of events.
Did I actually see something like flame throwing or something else on that Pickled Brothers
yeah,
circus?
There's sword swallowing and a bed of nails, and it's quite an
And they're
exciting
actually,
show.
this is actually happening?
It is actually happening.
There's
It is
actually flame?
happening.
I hope they do it sober and not pickled.
Yeah, and they've actually been here. They were here this spring, so a very popular show. So that'll be fun, and that kind of starts off. Of course, it's Halloween month, so we have lots of fun events, lots of creature features for our movies on Thursday afternoons, and we have a zombie makeup party on the 29th. You can become your favorite Walking Dead character. We have Creepy Critters coming on. Let's see, that would be the 26th, and all kinds of insects and spiders and snakes and all that kind of stuff will be at the library. So you can never say. We've had every kind of animal at the library that I can imagine. We've had ponies.
Even a
and
kangaroo, if I recall correctly.
Kangaroo, yep. We've had birds of prey. And one time the insect guy, he said, I got to go to lunch. He said, do you have any place where I can put my bugs? And I said, well, sure. And so he put all the boxes in my office. And so I'm sitting there working. All of a sudden I hear this scratching, and everybody's getting a little antsy in their boxes. And I'm starting to get, I hope they all are latched, because we did not have that on the same day as the birds of prey. Because that could have been a disaster with the birds of prey and the small, yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah, and
But
I know the
digress.
reptile shows are always
Oh my
vastly
gosh.
popular in this
Snakes,
community.
people love snakes in the library.
All of a sudden, the library turns into the animal kingdom.
It does. It does. It does.
Loosen the bonds a little bit too far.
Crikey, we're in the M section, and
Yes, it's
Well, and one thing I was really thinking about, because for us this has been very important with a family of 2 boys, and not always a huge amount of income coming in, is the amount of things we can bring our kids to. And they're free. I mean, we're talking movies, we're talking animal shows, we're talking circus, we're talking magic shows. And that is the beauty of a public service here, is that, there's a lot of opportunities for stuff. And I know it's been a big part of our social calendar.
Statistically, public library use increases dramatically during financial downturns, downturns in the economy. And you don't know how many parents and grandparents that I have had come up to me and say, you know what, we had to shut off our cable. We can't do this. We can't go on vacation this year. And they come with a whole armload of things. This is their cable for the week. Is the kids have books. Everybody has their own library card. They check out the maximum number of stuff, and
They can
that's
even get on
their
the computer.
connection.
They can
Absolutely,
right.
absolutely. And the library's not just one thing. And I
They
think
can
that's
even
what
see
I
a
love
movie
about it.
every week.
Absolutely, they can come and see a movie. They can go to. We have a lot of homeschooling families that come in and use programs because our programs always try to have some informational aspect to them. So, you can come and learn about science. Some of the stuff that is fun is also really, really educational. So, I just think it's a great mix. I mean, there's really not anything you can't really do at the library. You can even be noisy, Chad. So,
I told her it was like, I get to be loud in the library. And she's like, oh, that's old. You've not been
tell
around
me.
in a while.
You
We
are
like it that
so
way.
80s.
That's right.
Don't tell my kids that, okay?
don't tell you what.
Don't tell them that they can be noisy.
No. We
Yeah.
want you to keep it in moderation.
Well, and they can't run and do hide
No
and seek through
running.
the shelves.
No
So that's
running.
still a limit. We should make sure our
No
listeners out
climbing
there
the
understand.
shelves. Yeah.
Believe me, I'm way over that stage.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I have to put on my librarian voice, and
I know the kids are always so shocked when someone does. I'm like, yeah, they're not used to it.
yeah. One of the new things that we have that's really drawing in a lot of younger people is we've started a whole library Minecraft community. And so if you're into that, I'm a middle-aged woman. I'm not that hip and up on all that stuff. But man, there are a lot of people that are, and we're building a whole community. It's a way to really engage, especially some of our younger guys, that sort of middle school into early high school boy age is hard to engage with the library, because there's a lot of cool stuff vying for their attention. And so Minecraft, we have a lot of, I think we have, 40 or 50 people that have already signed up for it, and we just started it
It is
last week.
immensely popular, but it took me forever to get over World of Warcraft, so I'm not starting something else.
We might make you a believer yet,
That's
Chad.
right.
Well, and even just looking at your staff, and I'm sure some of this is happy accidents and on purpose, but you've got a diversity of ages, you've got a diversity of culture, so because I was thinking of Brandon, him coming in, and he's kind of taken on bringing in the teen programs
Absolutely.
as someone who can.
Brandon Thompson's our outreach coordinator, yeah.
Because I know he's done the reading group, and he, from what I understand, has a really kind of committed adolescent following, that
He
comes to
absolutely
his
does.
programs, and so
Absolutely.
I'm sure the staff is as important as anything else you do here.
I still think the coolest thing since sliced bread is the Couch to 5K.
The Couch to 5K, that's a tremendous aspect of our library service. This year was our biggest team. We started it maybe 3 or 4 years ago. This year, I think we had maybe 60 people stick to it and run in the Spoonbread 5K race. And that's they practice and go from basically being couch potatoes to being able to run and walk in a 5K race. And we always do it at the Spoonbread Festival 5K. And we had a huge library team. So do you usually think of the library as a place to run? We try to really bring in aspects of all kinds of physical fitness. We have yoga classes regularly. We have healthy cooking classes. Everything that's about our lifestyle and the things that we're doing. You can learn about at the library, but you can also put those things into practice. So absolutely.
It's not your mama's library.
It's not. And yet it is.
Well, Ruthie, I appreciate it so much. We're going to have to take a break
I could go
here.
on all
that
night.
Okay. Well, and let's say that I know you guys still have
Well, you're not
calendar
going
of
anywhere. We're just
events
going to have
and
to take a break here for a second.
of people who can do events, and also you have a very helpful website they can go on to also find out what's happening both the Richmond and Berea one. It's pretty easy to navigate.
www.madisonlibrary.org.
That's right. When you get there, then you can pick which branch
Yep.
and get information on what's going on.
Absolutely.
So, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I think Jonathan's got a little rant for us he wants to share, and then we're going to have our community calendar and wrap up this edition of All About Berea. Join us right after these messages. Hello and welcome back. You're listening to nothing because the mic's turned off. welcome back. You're listening to All About Berea. I'm Chad Hembry, and here in the Madison County Library, hanging out with the full crew. And we've just had Ruthie in here talking about all the different and exciting things going on at the library, and it's going to be a busy season for them. I say
It
season,
could
but
be
it never
that we're
really
gonna twist their
never
arm and
really
make let us
stops.
stay
I
here.
always think of the season running with the academic season almost, but actually it's a pretty busy place in the summer as well.
I would say it probably gets even busier.
Oh, our summer reading program in June and July is huge. It really is the busiest time, for the library. But I mean, it hasn't let up. I'll have to say that it has not let up since summer. So we're thrilled that so many people are using the library. Let me just give you a quick fact. I know we have to move on to some other stuff, but we have 360,000 annual visits to our libraries and bookmobile in Madison County. That's just in Madison County. 91,000 computer sessions that are logged. 30,000 kids and adults attend programs each year at the library. So those are big
Are
numbers.
those unusual numbers for a community this size, Ruthie, just as far as you're getting out and about? Or does it just vary so much?
I think we have
per
a strong.
community?
I think we have a strong usage in our, from a statewide standpoint. Madison is, I think, the ninth or 10th largest county in terms of size and population in the state, and our numbers are up there. So I think we're good. I don't know. I don't know an actual comparison, but
You're on the high end. In other words.
yes.
Well, before Beth shares this week's calendar of events, I think Jonathan had a little rant he wanted to share with us. And it's kind of funny because we just talked about the Know-It-All Festival, and he's going to talk about know-it-alls a little bit.
Is he our resident know-it-all?
Well, actually, I'd say I'm the resident don't know it all. In my study of statistics, that's my first chosen field. I came to view it as the study of what you don't know and the probability that you don't know it. And so I've gotten really, 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 really sick lately of hearing all the people on the radio and in the newspapers and on the internet saying that they know things that they don't. And I'm gonna back up a little bit. After on this show a couple months ago, I said after extensive research, I've decided that Allison Lundergan Grimes does not have a chance in her election against Mitch McConnell. And I said that based on extensive research, but I didn't say I knew it. Of course, there's always the possibility of a game changer of sorts, and I think that one of those game changers has happened recently with the shutdown of the government. And if I were to sit here and say that I know how it is going to change the upcoming elections for the hundreds of federal offices that are coming up, I'd be lying. But there are a lot of people out there saying this is what's going to happen. And of course, this is centered around the Affordable Care Act. And you can't open the newspaper or you look at any news source without, if the Affordable Care Act goes into effect, then this is going to happen and that is going to happen. If we default, then this is, because we're talking about raising the debt ceiling. If we default, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And the fact is, we really don't. We really don't know. Learned people more learned than I am, are constantly grabbing the mic or whatever their soapbox is, and giving these dire predictions or rosy predictions about exactly what is going to happen. They're usually wrong. They're just plain usually wrong. And I did read a study about the more high-profile a pundit, really the larger the probability is that they're going to be wrong when they predict something. And one of the reasons for that is that you get press for making wild predictions, and nobody follows up and says, well, you've been wrong 50% of the time or 60% of the time this year. So anyway, this brings me back to what kind of started this thinking is the Affordable Care Act. And we've had the dire predictions and the rosy predictions. And it's really turning my stomach because what we have are 50 individual experiments all across the country. And there's going to be some rosy things and some things that might not look good. And but when people say that if this happens, whatever, either the apocalypse is upon us or everybody gets healthy all of a sudden, well, that's just not good science. That's not good intellectual discourse. Like I said, the fact is we have 50 individual experiments going on in this country. I think most people honestly want what is best for this country, and they have their definitions of that, and I think their definition of what's good informs their predictions. But that's not a good way to do it either. And it's making it very difficult for me to even look at any news. I'm really behind because since the government shut down, I am just really tired of hearing, all these things. I want to go and write them down and write up a score sheet and, call all these people and ask them why they were wrong, because most of them are going to be. But anyway, that's my rant.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And what's really funny is that a lot of the people you're talking about, that especially high profile, they become so involved in whatever cause or whatever side of the issue that they're on that they almost become indebted to it. It's like they owe it allegiance. They can't get away from it, right or wrong. And you can't argue with them. And the reason you can't argue with them is, what did you put in the paper? What was my quote?
If you wrestle with a pig, you're going to both get money, but the pig's going to like it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's good.
I have to ask you, did anybody say anything to you about
Yes,
that?
all over town. I saw your quote in the newspaper. That was good.
So what if you wrestle a pig to put lipstick on it?
You're still both going to get muddy, and
You're still going to have lipstick all over you and on more things than your lips.
Is the pig going to like that?
Then you both win. It's a tie.
No. Well, and just being a member of the media, it's become very unfortunate. The media lives and dies by a single headline, and that becomes just like with abundance. Like you're saying, the outrageousness makes news. And so it's like ups the bar every time. And then the newspapers compete with each other on the most kind of controversial headlines. It's going to grab the attention. So
Yeah, that's where Beth's integrity got me one time, because we had this one story, and I said, run the headline like this to get listeners. And she's like, no, I don't do that. Touche.
yeah, well, that's
All right.
why I don't work at a daily.
Yeah.
All right, Beth, why don't you go ahead and share our weekly calendar, and we'll be wrapping up.
Well, Chad,
Actually,
there's been a change.
Jonathan wants to start doing the weekly calendar.
Jonathan wants to do the
because
calendar of events.
He's
do.
been feeling left out because he doesn't have something to do every week.
No, I
So-
just want to hear my silky smooth voice.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Maestro.
Okay, so this is the community calendar for this coming week. On Friday, October 11th, we have the New Coon Creek Girls in Concert. Say that 5 times fast. The New Coon Creek Girls in Concert, 7 to 11 p.m., Russell Acton Folk Center. There's 2 shows. It's fronted by the Earl Barnes Band. Their refreshments, admission is $5 at the door. Also on Friday, October 11th, reading from scenes from Commonwealth, short plays and monologues by Kentucky women. 7:30 p.m. at the Berea Arts Council. Several playwrights will be in attendance, and books will be available for $15. Saturday and Sunday, October 12th and 13th, the 2013 Kentucky Guild of Artists and Craftsmen Fall Fair at Indian Fort Theater. Rain is not invited. It's scheduled from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday and 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. It's a juried show, and there's over 100 artists that are going to be there.
Juried means they're all good.
Yes.
Somebody said they
Somebody
were.
asked me the other day, what's juried mean?
It means they were acquitted.
It means they were all acquitted of their crimes and can actually participate.
Okay, so Sunday, October 13th. It's the second Sunday weekend at Battlefield Park in Richmond from 2 to 4. Walking and biking on trails, geocaching, buggy parade, Zumba, etc. If you want to know what that means, you'll have to be there. So let's see. October 17th would be Thursday. Is that right?
Yes.
That's
okay,
correct.
Good. October 17th, Thursday, there's a free movie from Up on Poppy Hill at 3:30, right here at the Madison County Public Library in Berea. It's rated PG. Do you want to tell us anything about the movie?
Well, I actually don't know anything about the movie, but I am
Okay.
sure it's going to be good.
You know that it's
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
and you know
absolutely.
that it's here at 3:30 on Thursday,
Yeah.
October 17th. Teen Fusion, 4:15 p.m. at Berea Community School. It's free team building activities for teens. Hot Club of Cowtown Convocation. That's the Berea College Convo, 8 to 9 p.m. on October 17th. Phelps Stokes Building at Berea College. Hot Jazz of Django Reinhardt and Stephanie Grappelli. And next, the following weekend, October 17th through 20th, the Celebration of Traditional Music. The 40th annual Celebration of Traditional Music. It's on Berea College campus. Concerts, jam sessions, and more held all across the campus. And that is what's going on.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. You want me to say it, don't you, Beth? You want me to say it to Jonathan? Another busy
There's a
week?
lot
There's
going on in Berea.
There
Well,
always is.
It can be like, all kids above average. It can be your
That's right.
like lead phrase on the radio.
I really love Garrison Keeler, by the way. So,
So do I.
all right. Well, thank you very much for being here and sharing that with us, Jonathan. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Ruthie. We've had a great show. I've enjoyed being at the library. I kind of feel like I'm breaking the rules. I get to be loud in the library, and then I'm staying till closing time.
Yeah,
It's
they're
like,
actually locking the doors as we speak.
You are locked in.
I was like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I've closed up a lot of places, but never the
Never a
library.
library.
Well, thanks again for being on the show with us. We appreciate
I
it,
had a
and we
great
definitely
time.
will
Thank
get you
you.
back on here when there's more to talk about, which I'm sure that won't take very long. But let's see, it's been what 3 months maybe, I guess, since
4, 5, 3.
Well, I had to count down because I was thinking
Are you seeing
time-wise.
since we've had Pat
Since we
here?
had
Is that
Pat
what
in
you're
here.
thinking?
Yeah.
Well, she was talking about the summer reading program. So I
Yes.
think that was probably about June.
Okay.
I just wanted to assure Ruthie that we'll bring her back here for the 50th anniversary of
Oh,
Right.
all right. Thanks again for listening. This is All About Berea. Join us next week for more Berea news.